Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we are back with another tier list, and in today's tier list we are ranking strikers. I'm continuing the series where I'm ranking some of the best players of this generation at every position. Obviously we started off last week with wingers, and today we're doing strikers, the number 9s, the guys who get paid to score the goals. Look, now you're seeing the screen right now, there's one guy missing here. Obviously it's Robert Lewandowski. I promise you it wasn't on purpose. I forgot to put him in the video because I'm filming this intro after I filmed the video, but I promise you at the end of the video I remember and I added him in post Zlatan. So after Zlatan I talked about Lewandowski. So if you, don't be mad at me for not adding Lewandowski. I promise you it wasn't on purpose. And yeah, this should be really fun, man. I think football this generation has some of the best strikers that we've ever seen, and I cannot wait for you guys to hear me talk about all of them. And yeah, also some honorable mentions for this video I forgot to say are guys like Diego Costa, Alvaro Morata, Eden Dzeko, Carlos Tevez, and Samuel Eto'o. I wanted to add Samu in here, Eto'o, but unfortunately I think his prime came mostly in like the 2000s, not in the 2010s, even though he won a treble in the 2010s, but still his peak as a player was mostly like before that, so that's why I didn't add him in here. But yeah, man, I feel like this list is pretty good, and yeah, I hope you guys enjoy the video, and let's get to ranking some number 9s. Starting off with Kun Aguero, he to me is going to be an A tier. I believe Kun Aguero is one of the greatest strikers in the history of the Premier League, and his numbers and stats, by the way, back that up. This is a guy who scored the 5th most goals in Premier League history with 184, I'm pretty sure, which is obviously an absurd tally. And the only guys with more goals than him in the Premier League history, are Alan Shearer, Wayne Rooney, Harry Kane, and Andy Cole. And what do all four of those guys have in common? Exactly, they're all English. And where's Kun Aguero from? Exactly, he's from Argentina. Look at you getting involved. I'm proud of you, man. Aguero, obviously, so that means he has the most goals ever scored by a foreigner in Premier League history, which to me is an amazing accomplishment because we know how many great foreign players, attackers especially, have played in the Premier League. Whether it's Ronaldo or Henry or Cantona or Bergkamp or Van Nistelrooy or Van Persie or Drogba or Haaland or Nunez or Suarez. I mean, all these great players that have played in the Premier League, and Kun Aguero has a higher goal tally than all of them, which again, very, very impressive in my opinion. This is also a guy who was a pivotal part, a key piece to one of the most successful and best teams that English football has seen. Obviously, we know Man City over the past 15 years, whether it was with Mancini or Pellegrini or Guardiola, they've won countless league titles, countless domestic cups, and Aguero was a part of basically all of those teams. And, you know, post Sir Alex Ferguson leaving Man United, we know the big boys in England domestically have been Man City. And like I said, Aguero was a part of almost all those teams. Obviously, not recently. He wasn't there to win the UCL or the treble with them. He only made one UCL final ever with Man City, and you know they obviously lost to Chelsea in 2021 in Lisbon. But still, man, when it comes to like domestic football, Aguero and Man City have been as good as it got over the past 15 years. Also, like people forget about how good Aguero was before ever coming to Man City. At Atletico Madrid, which I watched him a lot because obviously I watched La Liga. I remember how good that guy was. He won a UEFA Super Cup with them and also a Europa League with them. I remember a game that he played against Chelsea actually in the UCL in 2009, 2010. He scored a brace in that game in the Vicente Calderón, which is Atletico Madrid's old stadium before they moved to the new one, and he scored an insane brace, like two great goals. And in that game, like after that game, he started getting linked to like Chelsea and Man City and Man United, and obviously ended up going to Man City. And you could argue honestly, he's Man City's greatest ever player. Now, Man City fans might disagree. They might say, oh, it's De Bruyne, it's company, it's David Silva. I'm not a Man City fan, so honestly, I don't care to argue about that. But, I mean, he's definitely in that conversation, which is kind of crazy because Man City, like, you could argue the greatest ever player, Aguero, he came in 2011. That's after the iPhone came out. I'm not trying to be a dick and say, oh, Man City's small club, but that is kind of funny how I just thought about that. But anyway, moving on past that, again, I'm not trying to be a dick, but that is, again, I wanted to point that out. And then post Man City, he goes to Barcelona, joins us because he wanted to play with Messi. Messi ends up leaving the PSG, and he stays for about 3 months. Obviously, deals with a heart issue, and then he retires. So yeah, that's pretty much Aguero's career. Again, a great career. Also on the national team, the thing with Aguero is that he dealt with a lot of injuries in his career, and most of his injuries came like post like January. So he was basically dealing with knocks every time like Argentina got to a big international tournament, whether it was the World Cup or Copa America. Aguero was never truly fully fit to play in those games. Hence why guys like Carlos Tevez and Higuain got more playing time in those Argentina teams. But Aguero, to me, again, he wasn't a great player on the national team. We know Argentina, they won the World Cup, they won the Copa America without him, basically. So again, internationally, not a great player. To me, he's slightly overrated by some people, but still, I think he's one of the best strikers of this generation. He's just not quite S tier, in my opinion. Moving on to Edinson Cavani, who to me is going to fall into B tier. I could honestly argue that peak for peak, I would take Cavani's peak over Aguero's. Now, I might be alone on that one because obviously not many people watch Cavani's peak. Everybody watched Aguero's peak because he plays in the most popular league for one of the best teams in England. And Cavani's peak happened at Napoli in 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014. Those 4 seasons where he scored over 30 goals in every single season. And he was amazing, bro. One of the best strikers in the world every single year. After that, he got that big money move, obviously, to PSG. And, you know, PSG, to me, I take everything at PSG or Ligue 1 with a grain of salt. Even Messi's accomplishments, by the way. Because, again, we know it's the French league and PSG dominate that league. I mean, Cavani won 6 French titles with them, like league titles with them. He also won like 5 Coupe de France's with them. So again, he scored a bunch of goals with them, but again, it's PSG. They would have won those titles with or without Cavani, so I'm not putting too much stock in that. After that, he goes to Man United, and, you know, it doesn't really work out. But again, he wasn't bad for Man United. He scored some pretty important goals for them. But again, it wasn't really anything like special. Then he goes to Valencia. Now he's currently at Boca Juniors. I watched him at Boca in the Copa Libertadores this season. He just wasn't that great. Against Fluminense in the final, he ghosted. Against Palmeiras, he scored a goal in the second leg, but still wasn't great. They brought him in to be the like talisman number 9. And honestly, I think Boca Juniors would have been better off with Benedetto's playing instead of them. But then again, that's just like me talking about something that not many people care about. Not many people watch South American football. Pretty much only me and Noah, if you're watching this right now. But yeah, to me, Edinson Cavani, a great player. Again, his peak was something amazing. Also at Uruguay, he was a guy who won a Copa America with them in 2011. He also was part of that team that made the World Cup semifinal in 2010. Now, he wasn't ever quite as good as Cavani, as Forlan or Suarez, but he was still a really good player for them. Scored a goal against Portugal in the UCL round of 16. Not in the UCL. I keep saying the fucking UCL. In the World Cup round of 16 in 2018. Scored a beautiful goal, by the way. Like, he shot it with his right foot and like, he curled that ball to the far post. An insanely good goal. If you haven't seen that goal, by the way, go check it out. But yeah, to me, Cavani, again, like I said, his peak is one of the best I've ever seen from a striker, especially in this generation. But I can't quite put him in that same tier as Aguero because, again, I think Aguero has more of a longevity, and he also did it in a tougher league. Moving on to Karim Benzema. Karim Benzema, to me, is going to fall into S tier. Obviously, Benzema is one of the greatest players ever in the history of Real Madrid. And when you're one of the greatest ever players in the history of Real Madrid, you're obviously going to be one of the greatest players ever, or like strikers ever in this generation. I think Karim Benzema, when it comes to Real Madrid all-time goals and assists, he's second behind Ronaldo in both categories. He's second in goals behind Ronaldo and second in assists behind Ronaldo, which is fucking absurd, man. I mean, we know how many great legends have played for that club, and the fact that he's second behind the greatest ever player is insane to me. Obviously, Karim Benzema, he was really good at Lyon, but we all know him for Real Madrid and what he did there. His first few seasons at the club, he wasn't great, okay? Real Madrid fans will tell you that they loved him throughout his whole career. They're lying to you. Early on in his career, they fell out of love with Karim Benzema because he wasn't a clinical striker who was missing too many chances. But after that, really post-Ronaldo leaving, they really appreciated this guy a lot more because post-Ronaldo leaving is when we really got to see the best version of Benzema, which to me is what really cements him as one of the best strikers that I've ever seen. Because what this guy did in 2021, 2022, 2020 was absurd. And obviously, we all know that UCL run that he went on where he was just dominant, bro. I get goosebumps talking about that UCL run, and you guys know I fucking hate Real Madrid. I was rooting against them in every single game in that UCL campaign, and I still couldn't help, I had to applaud and say, this guy's insane. What he did against PSG, what he did against Chelsea, what he did against Man City. That goal that he scored against Man City in the first leg, like that first goal that he scored where he like volleys it like and it goes post and in. I still don't know how he scored that goal. It's one of the most beautiful goals I've ever seen in my life. I'm not even exaggerating when I say that. And in the final, obviously didn't score against Liverpool, but still had a really good game. And Karim Benzema, man, this is a guy who I don't want to say he's an elite finisher because I don't think he was an elite finisher until later on in his career. Because again, like I said, early on in his career, he struggled with finishing a lot. But this guy, when it came to playmaking, I mean, he unlocked everything for that team. He would drop deep and spray the ball around, feed the ball to Ronaldo, feed the ball to Bale. And to me, when it came to the BBC trio, Ronaldo was number 1, obviously, because, you know, he carried that trio mostly. Then to me, second was Benzema, no debate about it. And third was Gareth Bale. Karim Benzema was a guy who also scored in the UCL final against Liverpool in Kiev, that curious mistake, one of the many curious mistakes in that game. But yeah, man, to me, Karim Benzema is an amazing player. There's very few strikers who are really good at playmaking and also really good at finishing. And Karim Benzema is one guy that excelled at both of them. He's one of the greatest playmaking number 9s in the history of this game. So to me, I mean, this guy, what he did for all those years around Madrid, and especially post Ronaldo, when he really got to shine, I mean, it's insane, man. Also, one of the best UCL players of all time. So to me, Karim Benzema is, of course, going to go into S tier. Moving on to Didier Drogba, he to me is going to fall into A tier, but I honestly just know I was debating putting him in S tier. If you're asking me, and I know this sounds corny, but just let me say this out loud. On my team, I would rather have Didier Drogba over Kun Aguero. I really would. I would rather have Didier Drogba. This is one of the best big game players this game has ever seen. He's not going to wow you with numbers or stats because his stats don't compare to Aguero's or any of the, they don't compare with many of the strikers here because, again, Drogba was a guy who, at Chelsea, barely ever cracked over 20 goals a season. Like, that was hard for him to do, crack over 20 goals a season, which most strikers here did it routinely. But Didier Drogba, he's the perfect guy that you have to watch him play to understand how good he was. If you watch Drogba play, you understood how good he was. He was an amazing player, bro. One of the best big game players this game has ever seen. In 10 finals with Chelsea, he had 10 goal contributions. Won Chelsea an FA Cup against Arsenal, I'm pretty sure in 07 in the old Wembley. I remember that. I think I remember that game. He scored that goal. We all remember that iconic performance in Munich against Bayern Munich in their stadium, scoring the header. The only corner Chelsea had that whole game. And Didier Drogba rises to the near post, runs to that near post, and puts it past Manuel Neuer. And then in extra time, he does his thing, and then actually no, he didn't do his thing because he didn't score. But anyway, it goes to penalties, and he scores the winning penalty for Chelsea. And, brings them their first UCL title in their history. Also, this guy was, he came in the same season that Mourinho came in from Porto, from, I think, Marseille. And his first season there, he just unlocked everything for that team. Again, Chelsea historically, especially with Mourinho and those prime years, they were more of they mostly prided themselves on being a great defensive team. So, attackers for Chelsea barely ever shine. But this guy, the reason why Frank Lampard scored so many goals was because of a guy like Didier Drogba. Because he unlocked so much on that team. So for me, again, I debated putting him in S tier, but his stats are not quite there. But his trophy cabinet are as good as basically any player here apart from a few. And obviously we know who I'm talking about, Ronaldo and Benzema and, Suarez. But his trophy cabinet is insane, bro. UCL, league titles, FA Cups, EFL Cups. This guy's won it all in football. So for me, made 2 UCL finals as well. So for me, again, like I said, Didier Drogba, on my team, I'd take him over Aguero. I know people might disagree with that, but if you know, you know. If you know about Drogba, you know. You really can't explain it. Moving on to Radamel Falcao. He, to me, is going to fall into B tier. This hurts, man, because Radamel Falcao, obviously South American pride. He's from Colombia. Obviously, you guys know I'm from Venezuela. We're neighbors. And I could honestly argue here that he has the best prime that a striker has here, apart from 2 guys. And obviously, those 2 guys are Cristiano Ronaldo and Luis Suarez. But Radamel Falcao in 2011, 2012, and 2012, 2013, where he was scoring over 35 goals a season and, winning Europa Leagues with Atletico Madrid and winning Copa del Rey with them. And he made the FIFA Pro 11 in 2012. The whole team was Real Madrid and Barcelona players. It was some of the, it was Messi and Sergio Ramos and Dani Alves and Marcelo and, Xavi, Iniesta. And then the one lone non-Real Madrid and Barcelona player is Radamel Falcao, a Colombian, as the number 9. That's insane, bro. That is insane. This guy was so good. Also goes to Monaco, has a couple good seasons there. Then, he bounced around a couple of teams, went to Celta Vigo. I think he's playing at Celta Vigo right now. Or maybe, Rayo Vallecano. That's where he went to Rayo Vallecano. But his, injuries kind of ruined his career post-leaving Atletico Madrid. But this guy, man, he was so good. If you watch Radamel Falcao in his prime, I remember he scored 5 goals. I remember this so vividly against Deportivo La Coruña. Go look up that game. Go look at his 5 goals that he scored. He also scored a hat-trick in a UEFA Super Cup final against Chelsea as well. This guy was so good. Peak for peak. To me, he has a better peak than Benzema. No Benzema. No, that's blasphemous. He does not have a better peak than Benzema. Take back what I said. He has a better peak than Aguero for sure, than Drogba, and then Cavani for me. Like I said, to me, the only guys here with better peaks than Radamel Falcao are Benzema, Ronaldo, and Suarez. Honestly. But again, his longevity is just not there. It's just not there with guys like Aguero and Didier Drogba. And his trophy cabinet, again, I know trophies are a team sport, but his trophy cabinet is just not there with the other guys. So again, Radamel Falcao, to me, I love this guy. He was so good. Watching him in his prime was a joy, but he just doesn't belong in the same tier as Aguero or Drogba or Benzema, obviously, because again, the longevity wasn't there. But his peak, man, we will never forget. The streets will never forget peak Falcao. Moving on to Gonzalo Higuain, he to me is going to fall into B tier. Gonzalo Higuain is a tricky player because people forget about how good this guy was in his prime because obviously all the national team failures, missing open nets against Chile and against Germany. But Gonzalo Higuain, don't let that fool you from the fact that, don't let that distract you from the fact, that this guy at Real Madrid, at Napoli, and at Juventus was a goal machine. A goal machine. At Real Madrid, he won 3 league titles with them and came in super young from River Plate, I'm pretty sure. And as soon as he came in, he started making an impact on that team. And had a couple seasons where he scored over 20 goals for Real Madrid. Then he goes to Napoli and fucking tears it up. Scored 36 goals in a Serie A season. 36. That's more than Ronaldo ever scored, by the way, in a Serie A season. I think he has the most goals ever scored in a single Serie A season. Gonzalo Higuain does. 36 goals in a league season is not normal, bro. That's Messi Ronaldo numbers. That is insane. Serie A, Liga, it does not matter. 36 goals in a league season is crazy, and he did that. And he also had a couple years where he was scoring over 25 goals. I mean, he was really, really good at Napoli. Won not a Scudetto, but a Coppa Italia with Napoli as well. Won a Coppa Italia with Napoli. Then he goes to Juventus and scores a bunch of goals for them as well. And wins 3 league titles with them. He's won like 6 league titles in his career, I'm pretty sure. Wins a couple Coppa Italias with them. He was the main striker on that team that made the UCL final in 2017. I remember like the semi-final against Monaco, he scored a goal, I'm pretty sure. So Gonzalo Higuain to me, man, I mean, obviously after that he goes to Inter Miami and he sucks. I remember I watched him play for Inter Miami that like in the 2022 season opener. They played the Chicago Fire. I went to that home opener game because Inter Miami was before Messi ever got there, and you know it was like the tickets were like $40 like for like the first row. And I watched him warm up, and I shit you not, he didn't hit the goal once. I shit you not, he didn't hit the goal once. Like warming up with no keeper, he skied every single shot he took. Every single shot he took, he skied it. But still, man, that's him older. Like, he wasn't as good. But in his prime, man, this guy was amazing. Amazing, amazing player. Again, not in the same tier as Higuain, or not Higuain, sorry, or as Aguero or Drogba or some of the other guys here. But I think when you think of Gonzalo Higuain, he belongs in that tier with Cavani and Falcao and, you know, some of the other guys here that we're going to see very shortly. So, again, Gonzalo Higuain, don't let the national team failures fool you, because this guy, I mean, he pissed me off when he was playing for Argentina because obviously I was rooting for Messi in those Copa America finals and obviously in the World Cup final. But this guy, man, apart from that, one of the, like a great player, a great finisher, and very physical as well. And just, man, I wish people would remember his career in that way more than just like trying to meme him every single time they talk about him. Moving on to Cristiano Ronaldo, who obviously you guys know if you watched the Wingers one, he was on that tier list as well. But like I said in that video, Ronaldo's career is kind of split into 2 parts, winger and striker. And obviously this time as a striker, he's also going to go into S tier. I mean, Ronaldo's transition from wingers or striker is insane because he was equally good at both. And you could argue he was a better striker than a winger. I would disagree with that, but still, you can make that argument. Because this guy, I mean, post-knee injury in like 2015, 2016, 2014, 2015, 2016, when he became a poacher on that team, I mean, to me, he's the greatest striker the game has ever seen. Not the greatest goal scorer, but the greatest striker the game has ever seen. Won a Golden Boot as a striker in 2014, 2015. Scored countless goals. I mean, you could argue he had his best ever season as a striker in 2016, 2017, where he obviously scored a brace in the final against Juventus and scored a hat-trick in the semifinal and scored 5 goals in the quarterfinals. I mean, this guy was insane. Obviously, at Juve, scored a bunch of goals. Man United goes over there. Wasn't great for them, in my opinion, but still scored a bunch of goals for them. I mean, no, I shouldn't say he wasn't great. He didn't carry them like people say he did, but he still was really, really good for them, scored a bunch of goals. Obviously, now at Al Nassr, scoring a bunch of goals, but Ronaldo post-knee injury as a striker was equally as good, in my opinion. He really mastered that role of being a poacher. He just knew how to adapt his game in a way that very few players know how to do once they deal with a significant injury like that. Hence why he's one of the greatest players of all time, because he can adapt his game in so many different ways. But yeah, man, to me, Ronaldo as a striker, as a winger, one of the best players of all time, obviously. So yeah, to me, he's going to go into S tier. I don't have to go into too much stuff about how good Ronaldo is. Moving on to Luis Suarez, Lucho, who's obviously going to go into S tier. One of my favorite strikers of all time. As a person, I'm not a big fan of this guy. I think he's kind of a scumbag. But as a player, to me, he's the best number 9 that I've ever seen. Now, I didn't get to watch R9's prime, so old heads don't get mad at me. But that I've ever seen with my own 2 eyes, Luis Suarez is the best striker that I've ever seen. This guy was insane. At Ajax, people forget in 09, he scored the most goals in a calendar year. He's the only guy who has won a Golden Boot in the Messi-Ronaldo era. Messi-Ronaldo era. I mean, Diego Forlan did that as well. But, I mean, Uruguay, holy shit, Uruguayan players they just win Golden Boots in the Messi-Ronaldo era. I mean, Diego Forlan won one in 09 when Messi won the Ballon d'Or. But post that, when the Messi-Ronaldo rivalry really became Messi-Ronaldo, like when they were all trading off Ballon d'Ors, he won a Golden Boot in 2013, 2014, and 2015, 2016. And both of those seasons are 2 of the best seasons that I've ever seen a striker have. At Liverpool, carried that fucking team to almost win the league. And he scored the most goals in a Premier League season without taking pens. And with missing 5 games because he beat Ibrahimovic. I mean, his Premier League season that year was insane. Also at Barcelona, 2015, 2016, he was ridiculously good, scoring goals for fun. So yeah, to me, Luis Suarez, later on in his career, wasn't really good. I mean, he missed a bunch of goals. He missed a bunch of sitters later on in his career. Obviously, went to Atletico Madrid, won a league title with them as well. Then he's obviously played for Gremio, and now he's playing at Inter Miami, with the Barca boys. But yeah, to me, Luis Suarez, like I said, we know how good this guy was. One of the best strikers the game has ever seen. So physical, so powerful, so elusive for his size. Such a great playmaker as well. I love Lucho. Again, not as a person, but as a player, he's going to go into S tier for me. Moving on to Mario Mandzukic. He, to me, is going to fall into C tier. I believe Mario Mandzukic was a really good player, an all-time underrated player, and that's I think he's one of the best strikers of this generation. That's why I have him on this list. But to me, he's just not quite as good as the other guys above him. Now, Mario Mandzukic, like Didier Drogba, is one of the best big game players of all time. This is a guy who scored in 2 UCL finals, one against Dortmund in 2013 where they won that game, and also one in 2017. We all remember that iconic bicycle kick that he scored, one of the best goals in UCL final history, an amazing goal. But unfortunately, Juventus ended up losing that game to Real Madrid in Cardiff. And then he also scored in a World Cup final against France in 2018 and in a World Cup semifinal against England. So this guy has scored in some of the biggest moments in the history of football. I really can't think of many other guys that have scored in both a World Cup final and a UCL final. Obviously, Messi comes to mind. Who else am I thinking of? Andres Iniesta. No, Iniesta never scored in a UCL final. Did he? No, Iniesta never scored in a UCL final. So I can't think of many, honestly. I can't think of any. Let me see who else. I honestly don't know. I think Messi's the only guy that comes to my mind. Maybe if you guys have some other guys, you can leave them in the comment section. Jordan Mueller maybe as well. But I'm talking about like UCL, post when the format changed. But anyway, that's besides the point. Mario Mandzukic did that. One of the best big game players of all time. But to me, again, his trophy cabinet is great. Won a UCL, won a treble, won a bunch of Bundesligas, won a bunch of Serie A's. But to me, I really don't think he's as talented or as good as some of the other guys above him. I mean, like, his game was just more limited in my opinion. Again, he was a great poacher and very good in the air because he's such a big man. But to me, again, like I said, when I compare him to guys like Radamel Falcao, Gonzalo Higuain, Kun Aguero, Didier Drogba, Edinson Cavani, he's just not quite in that tier in my opinion. Again, that's not to disrespect him or say he's not a good player, because he, along with Luka Modric and Ivan Rakitic and Perisic, he put Croatia on the map and led them to their first World Cup final in history, and that was amazing. But to me, again, like I said, I just can't put him in that same tier as the other guys here, so he's going to go into C tier. Next up, we have Robin van Persie, who to me is going to go into A tier. Robin van Persie is one of the best strikers that I've ever seen. I think he's the best. You could argue, apart from Marco van Basten or maybe Dennis Bergkamp, apart from those two guys, he's the greatest Dutch striker of all time. Now, people might say Ruud van Nistelrooy. I think Robin van Persie was a better player than Ruud van Nistelrooy, in my opinion at least. And people might disagree with that. I just think Van Persie was better. I enjoyed watching him play more. This guy, he obviously at Arsenal, him and Cesc Fabregas, that connection was insane. But unfortunately, Robin van Persie never won a single title at Arsenal. And then he finally makes the move to Man United in 2010, 2011, 2012, and he's able to win a league title with them. And in that title winning season for United, he was unplayable, bro. Unplayable. Him and Rooney were insane. Insane. I mean, this guy was injury prone throughout his career, but when he played, he delivered every single time. He's one of the best natural finishers I've ever seen in my entire life. I've never seen a guy who had a knack for goal quite like Robin van Persie. Honestly, from the bottom of my heart, go watch it. If you forgot what Robin van Persie was like in his prime, go watch him in his prime. That left foot was insane, bro. One of the best strikers that I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, when it comes to finishing. This guy could not touch the ball for 90 minutes. He gets one touch of the ball, and it's probably going in the back of the net because he was that good of a finisher. Obviously, we all know the iconic goal that he scored against Spain in the 2014 World Cup group stages. Obviously made a World Cup final with the Netherlands as well. Was really good on the national team. This guy was insane, man. An insane player. An insane player. Such a good finisher. And, his touch was great, too. He had a great first touch. You could give him the worst ball ever, and he would bring it down and just have a great first touch. We all remember that goal that he scored against, I forget who it was, but he scored that great volley from that pass from Rooney. I forget that game, but you guys probably can let me know in the comment section. A fantastic goal. So for me, Robin van Persie, again, one of the best strikers, like in terms of finishing that I've ever seen. He's going to go into A tier for me. He deserves to be in that tier. And then finally, Zlatan Ibrahimovic. Out of respect, I'm going to put him into A tier, but I could very easily put Zlatan Ibrahimovic into B tier if I wanted to. I'm not the biggest fan of Zlatan. People might say that's because you're a Barca fan and he was bad at Barca. I actually disagree. I don't think he was that bad at Barca. He started off the season with us, like his first season, like his only season. He was actually pretty good for the first half, and then he just got benched by Pep and never really played again. Scored a goal on a Clásico as well. Has played for some of the biggest clubs in football, whether it was Juventus or AC Milan or Inter Milan or PSG or obviously Man United as well. But to me, Zlatan was a guy who, I don't know if this sounds like, unlike Didier Drogba, he was a guy who did not contribute to winning whatsoever, in my opinion. He only really ever won league titles in PSG because that's the French league. Now, he obviously goes to Milan. Sorry, my nose really fucking itches, man. Holy shit. Then he goes to AC Milan and wins him the first Scudetto in like 11, 12 years or whatever, which is great. But to me, this is a guy who never made it past, he only made it to a UCL semifinal. He made it once in his career, by the way, with Barca in 2009, 2010. I mean, think about this. Inter got rid of this guy and they won the treble. We took him on and we didn't win the treble. They got Samuelito, we got Zlatan Ibrahimovic. They won the treble, we only won one trophy, or two trophies. Or was it one or two trophies? No, we won two trophies that year, the League and the Copa del Rey. that should tell you all about Zlatan Ibrahimovic's career. Now, to me, he was a very limited player as well, not a great playmaker. A great shot. He had a fantastic shot on him. A great poacher as well. But to me, he just wasn't a guy that I was a big fan of watching him play. Now, his numbers do speak for themselves. He's one of the top goal scorers in the history of football. For Sweden, I mean, he dragged that team to a couple of World Cups and a couple of Euros, qualified them for those tournaments, but nothing really significant. Nothing like Gareth Bale did while at Wales. But again, I mean, I think Zlatan is a good player, a really good striker, but to me, he doesn't belong in the same tier as Suarez. Holy fuck, I just remembered, I forgot to put fucking Lewandowski on this tier. Oh my god, Lewa. Yeah, you know what? Wait, cut the video. Alright, there we go. I can't believe I forgot to put fucking Lewandowski on this tier list, man. I am crazy. Okay, Lewandowski obviously is going to go into S tier. There we have a picture of him doing his famous TikTok dance. This is a guy who scored 15 goals in a UCL campaign without playing like two legs, only playing one leg. Obviously has won countless Bundesliga titles, made a UCL final with Dortmund as well. Obviously now at Barca, I'm not a big fan of him. I think he's past his prime, but this guy in his prime, I mean, he scored 5 goals in 9 minutes. He's one of the best finishers the game has ever seen. So yeah, I can't believe I forgot to. I honestly did not do that on purpose. People who didn't watch the full video are gonna be like, "Where the fuck is Lewandowski?" You see him here now. I'm sorry I forgot to put him in the video, but he's here now. But he's obviously gonna go into S tier, which is not the same tier that Zlatan's gonna go in because they're not in the same tier. Lewandowski is miles better player and like historically than Zlatan is in my opinion. So yeah, I appreciate you guys for watching. Thank you so much for sticking to the end of the video. People are gonna be like, "Where's Lewandowski?" in the comments, but you know what? Like I'll tell them to watch the full video and you can see him here. But yeah, man, I appreciate you guys for watching. I love every single one of you, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.